Got your back.
Yeah, you do. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. That you're either watching this in YouTube, you're watching this in our live Zoom audience, or in our Facebook group. And we are expanding the Mortgage Coach Nation. We're also now at this moment in time live on Clubhouse every morning, 8:30 Pacific. We've got a morning huddle with an amazing mortgage leader, someone that is purpose-driven, someone that is incredibly successful as a mortgage professional, and also someone that is a badass mortgage coach. Most of them are grandmasters. And today we are doing black belt training with grandmasters. So all of these loan officers are highly successful from a production standpoint, but more importantly than that, they're just the best loan officers in America because they're giving families advice. They're black belts at it. So I've got my wingman, Todd Bookspan, to help support this training. What's up, Todd?
Hey, good morning. I'm super excited to be here. I was still trying to figure out when I was doing loans, where I was on the black belt, ladder, but I got to imagine I was pretty high up there.
Dude, you're a grandmaster. You've done thousands of TCAs, and you've led a team that's probably done tens of thousands of TCAs. So you're up there, bro.
Well, that's good. I'm excited to brush up and hear what these other experts, black belt grandmasters, have to say.
Right on. So we, as our newest leader on the mortgage coach community, we got Sosi Avila. Sosi, what's going on, brother?
What's up, guys? Good morning. Good to see everyone.
So I want to give Sosi some credit because the fact that I'm even doing this call, he helped inspire this thought. It was a couple Saturdays ago. He's like, "Hey, Dave, I'm doing all these cool things with Mortgage Coach, and I, one, think it would be valuable if I shared it, and then two, I want to hear what other people that are at my level using Mortgage Coach, grandmaster level, have done 1,000. I want to know what they're doing." So Sosi, thanks for reaching out with the idea, and thanks for the inspiration. I'm going to have you go, I don't know, probably second or third, if you're cool with that.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
and then Greg, I'm gonna figure out how long we have Dan Keller. Dan Keller, are you good to go for the whole call, or do you want me to get you in and out within half the call?
I have a hard stop at 9:45, so I can stay here the majority of the call.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'm gonna have you go second. So is everybody cool with this lineup? We're gonna have Kathryn go first because we've got to get her off and out to do other stuff by halftime. We're going to have Sosi go second. Then we're going to have Dan Keller. No, we're going to have Dan Keller go, then Sosi, and then Greg. Everybody good to go with that?
Sure.
Sounds
okay,
great.
Cool. And then we also have Brian Merring, who is a success manager at Mortgage Coach. He is responsible for the success of a number of corporate clients of ours. And then he also does our weekly Grandmaster training, black belt training. So 11 o'clock every Wednesday, Brian is on there. I often jump in, and we're just call it group coaching, where we're helping people be black belts. What's up, Brian?
Hey, thanks for having me on the call. Great panel here, Dave.
Yeah. So you and I watch what they're doing and be ready to go like, hey, here's a speed tip, or hey, here's a training coaching tip, or let's if there's something that we think they could do better, let's call it out. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Kathryn Pederson, who is top producer in the Mortgage Coach community. She's also one of the Mortgage Coach moderators for our Clubhouse experiment. Kathryn, for anyone who's new to the business or just new to our community, could you tell everybody where you're at and a little bit about your production, and then let's get into some strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. Kathryn Pederson out of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and been in the mortgage industry for more than 20 years, which is crazy to even think about, and love what I do every day. We really have a small market, so we bring a little bit different perspective to some of these calls. So I absolutely love coming on. I love Mortgage Coach and try to basically, we use it every day. It's just opens when I get in. So it's part of my daily routine. And last year we did 380 loans for a total of about 124 million. So good year. My team rocked it. So I'm super proud of my team.
Well, your community is lucky to have you. And for anyone listening to this, that's a lot of production out of a market that has a population of less than 20,000 people. So she is the market leader. She is the dominant mortgage professional there. And she's a mortgage coach. She's a grandmaster at Mortgage Coach. So Kathryn, what strategies do you want to do a little show and tell on today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of excited, but that's one of the things I love about mortgage is I get super excited about it. So bear with the geekiness a little bit. So the first one I want to show you has a little bit of a story behind it. So this is a mortgage coach that I've got. Sorry, I moved it around there a little bit. So what it is it's a person who owns a rental property and they're looking at reducing their monthly payments along with paying off a whole bunch of debt. So basically what we looked at for them of, hey, what if you get that payment down? I mean, look at this crazy payment savings here, because their goal is to actually eventually get to go back and get a master's degree. So they're going to really use their tenant to pay off their debt, which is fantastic. They were in a 15-year and they have about 10 years left, but in doing that, they've really racked up their credit card debt. So it's a good way to kind of get rid of everything. But I wanted to bring it up today because it shows that so he's at about 3.5, but the credit card and car loans are really high interest rates. And his main purpose right now is cash flow. So we ran both a 15-year and a 30-year just to kind of show you on here super quick, kind of what that would look like as far as the numbers go for him. So even doing a 15-year saves him like $1,800 a month, but it really helps him meet his goal with being able to get rid of that debt so that he's structured and ready to pursue a master's degree if he decides to do that. So that's kind of one of the options that I had fun pulling together.
Before you pull that down,
Yep.
you can show it back up.
Yep.
And real quick, I want to shine a light on the fact that Kathryn is always getting after it. And you'll notice that she's using our debt consolidation analysis new superpower. If you could click in the bottom of column 2 where it says debt consolidation, click on that link, that little hot link.
Oh, yeah, I love this. I should have brought that. Thank you.
So guys, I just want to make sure everybody knows this is a fairly new feature. We haven't marketed it broadly, but it's dynamic. Like carry your mouse over that little circle in the upper left-hand corner real quick. Just hold your mouse over it. And then move it to one of the other bars. You'll notice that it's dynamic, guys. It's for the consumer, it's dynamic. And then if you go down lower, they can look at it short-term and they can look at it long-term. And they can really net out what it makes sense. So let's face it, in 2020, equity won. People have a lot of equity. Some people need a financial makeover. And I'm seeing a lot of mortgage coaches where, hey, we're getting some cash out for some home improvements. We're consolidating some debt. And then net, we're building wealth with real estate faster. We're either paying off, we're using some of that savings in monthly payment to prepay our mortgage and pay less interest, or they're using that in other ways. So first of all, I want to give it to Dan Keller. Do you have any questions or comments about this?
Well, I think it's incredible. It's what I'm going to be talking about in a couple of minutes. I think people today more than ever need to have this type of info. They need to have these options. So Kathryn, incredible. And then the new feature with Mortgage Coach, I absolutely love it. So I'll probably, just as Kathryn likes to geek out on this stuff, I'll probably be geeking out on the debt consolidation aspect of Mortgage Coach coming up real soon.
Yeah, well, guys, in today's market, especially with interest rates going up, I would push everyone off. So you need to be a master at giving a family a financial makeover. So it's not rate driven, but it's cause driven, home improvement, debt consol. I need to be a master at doing move up analysis, showing a family, hey, let me make it clear what moving up looks for you and how it helps you build wealth with real estate. Brian, anything you want to call out on that? Any quick tips?
No, I really liked it, and thanks for being one of the early adopters of using the debt consolidation presentation there. Did you ever? I kind of missed a little bit of the story at the beginning, but did you think about maybe applying that savings either to like principal reduction or also towards like an investment account or something, perhaps like that?
Well, and I thought about it as a general principle, but for him, he's so focused on that monthly cash flow because of his goals in the next few years that I kind of would have you know, in a normal situation, we might have plugged that into paying down the mortgage to really reduce that term. But in his case, it was all about cash flow. So yes, but that's a great idea. And certainly we've used that as well, just to show that they could hammer out everything and be totally debt free in a few years. And that's, I love that about
that was a great loan for him. Congratulations on that one.
Thank you.
Yep. Another family well served with clarity and advice. What's the next one, Kathryn?
Yeah, so the next one is, we recently got a report in the last few days for our market that showed days on market and appreciation over the last year. So what I did is I kind of said, hey, I want to see that visually. So I'm planning on pushing this out. I want to refine it just a smidge, but so I'll share that one with you guys as well. So basically what the reports showed was that we were looking at a 9% appreciation year over year. And our days on market, by the way, went down by 56 days, which is insane. But that being said, I went ahead and said, okay, here's where we are today. Let's say we get that 9% again. What does that look like if rates are even just constant? Okay, so that payment goes up, you know, you can kind of see the numbers there. Or let's say we go up 9% and the rates go up 0.5%. What does that look like? And this is more of a little bit more of a training tool as far as, you know, fence sitters, but also just more appreciation, curiosity. And then what if they wanted to keep the same payment, but the rates went up 0.5%? What does that look like? So it's a little bit of cost of waiting along with the price appreciation that fits our specific market. But also keep in mind what this doesn't show is the same house that they would obviously be able to get today for 400 is going to be a way different scenario for that.
Did you guys hear that, or did we lose her at the end?
Yeah, I kind of lost her at the, there she is.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. So
yeah, go ahead.
Two things. One, if before you leave, if you could share the links to those in chat of Zoom.
Yep.
So, and make sure you share it with more than just panelists, share it with panelists and attendees. And guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link down below so you can see Kathryn's total cost analysis and see what it looks like from a consumer's perspective. And then if you need help with training that, first of all, guys, we have over 80 how-to videos in our YouTube channel and in our support page. So 24/7 access. And we do black belt training every Wednesday at 11. We do live training every Thursday at 9 a.m. So there's lots of places for you to get trained up on doing these. Greg, any comments you have on that last TCA that she showed?
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, if you really think about the equity that you mentioned, Dave, that people have in their homes right now that could be used, and in a positive way. I mean, I'm not a fan of taking out equity to go buy a Harley or a jet ski or something like that, but I do really think that there's a lot of people paying a lot of debt, and they're locked in on whatever their interest rate is. They don't realize that they could save tens of thousands of dollars over the next, 20, 30 years if they would make a smart move, take advantage of the interest rate, regardless of what it is, to pay off some higher interest debt. So that's a great job, Kathryn.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Hey, what about you, Sosi? Do you have any comments or questions for Kathryn about her TCA?
The only thing I would throw out is one of the neat attributes I keep getting from all the presentations is how Kathryn first said that she's going to geek out on it. She also has so much joy in it. Like, you can truly feel that knowledge being instilled to the other person in such a way that you know that they're walking away, not just knowing that they're cared for, knowing that they're being loved on, but then being coupled with that advice. I mean, it's that double-edged sword that brings everything home.
Sosi, that was like a nice leadership poll there, buddy. I'm going to have you come and co-host some of these for me.
Honesty is always the best policy I've heard.
No, but I mean, but you said something that's so true. Like it is like a mortgage coach, mortgage professional is just different because they're giving more value to the family. They're seeing the family's eyes light up. They're like, wow, I never thought of that before. And they're helping people beyond the transaction. And if you're a fee worksheet loan officer, you get joy when you close early and when you surpass expectations from a transactional standpoint, but they're missing out on the joy and the light bulbs that happen because they're not showing families like how to achieve your dreams. And it's just different. Like when you are someone that helps a family achieve their dreams and create that kind of epiphany, you have a different relationship with people. And by the way, guys, anyone listening to this, that you're still a fee worksheet loan officer, you just like your job more. So it's a really good point. So does anyone else have a comment before we bring on our next mortgage coach grandmaster?
Hey, Dave, can I throw something in that we forgot to mention early up front? Should we be talking a little bit about Scriptopalooza real quick?
I think we should be talking about Scriptopalooza. So guys, you want to talk about it or you want me to talk about it?
Well, yeah. So March 9th. So we're just a week and a half away. We're going to have, I forgot what the number was. It's something crazy, like $1 quadrillion worth of closings from last year, and our, dozen or so speakers. It's a fourth year that we've done it together. It's been number one viewed every year except for last year. It was only number two, which this year I think we'll push that one back up. But super excited. If you haven't registered yet, there's a couple threads in the mortgage coach community, or you can just go to winbynoon.com/scripts. There's a special mortgage coach link to register for that specific Zoom call.
So net it out for you guys, 13 loan officers that do over almost 11,000 loans a year combined for $4.5 billion. 13 loan officers that do $4.5 billion. We've got the number one loan officer in America. Shant is going to be there. I'm not going to read off all the names, but as Todd said, it's in our group. And actually, I changed the image in our Facebook group. It's Scriptopalooza. And every day next week, we'll be promoting it. My ask, for yourself, sign up. But the favor I would ask is we want this to be even bigger than past years. So share this with your mortgage friends, share this with your manager. If you are a manager, please make sure all your loan officers know about it, because it is a huge gift to the industry. And while Scriptopalooza came in second last year, the call that came in first was, what's your rate? Where we had 12 loan officers respond, what's your rate? And you could be assured that will be one of the scripts covered. One last reminder on that, if you have specific scripts that you want to hear, I'm going to push a poll later today to see which scripts you want to hear most, but feel free to share that in the group, in the comments. We want to hear what you want. So Kathryn, we'd love to have you stay on the whole call. We know you got to leave at some point soon, but you did a great job of being the first grandmaster to kick things off.
Thanks, Dave. Great to always be here. Love to be around this awesome crew. So I'm going to stick on for as long as I can so I can hear everyone else's ideas and frantically take notes.
Yeah, well, and feel free to call them out. And thank you again for what you're doing on Clubhouse. Remember, Mortgage Coach Community, every day at 8:30, we've got a baller on stage moderating a Clubhouse conversation, and every day at 3 p.m. So we've got an AM and a PM. It's an experiment. We're going to do it this month for another month, and then we're going to evaluate, is this something that's giving you value or not? Dan Keller, jump on stage, brother.
Good morning. Good morning. This is just going to be super valuable because I just took a bunch of notes listening to Kathryn, and I can only imagine Greg and Sosi are going to be amazing as well. Really, what I wanted to add is just what I learned in 2020. I think we all had the opportunity to talk to an abnormal amount, an increased amount of people that we normally would in a typical year. I know we did. Up here, I'm in the Seattle marketplace. I'm normally a 200 unit a year loan officer, and last year we did north of 400, and so 2x. In doing that, a couple of things stood out. And prior to me getting into the mortgage industry, I was in the college baseball coaching world for 10, 12 years, almost as long as I've been in the mortgage industry. And so I was always paying attention to the best of the best, whether it was at the Division I college level or at the pro level. What were those coaches doing? And even today, as I continue to watch, even in football, like Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney and some of the best coaches out there, they do things a little bit different. And I think one of the things that they do a little bit different as being the best, they're more professional. So these guys they're paying close attention to the gentleman that they coach and some of the needs that they have, additional needs outside of football. And I think it's so important as professionals in the mortgage industry right now that we're paying close attention, just like what Kathryn was talking about, debt. We have the opportunity as mortgage professionals right now, when we run a mortgage application, we see credit scores, we see their debt and how they're managing debt. We're seeing income on their pay stubs. We're seeing what they're doing with that income. We're seeing if they're contributing to their 401ks. We're seeing how they file their taxes, if they have rental properties or not. And I think it's up to us to ask better questions, especially right now with how low interest rates are. Like Kathryn mentioned too, how property values, I think we're pretty much equal across the board. Every big city in America right now is seeing a nice improvement in property values. And so as professionals, what are we doing with that information? And so one of the things that I gathered from 2020, and these are from doing a lot of refinances, that even people that have homes and have great equity, they're lost relative to financial literacy. And so this last summer, I don't know how I did this. It was after hours. Sometimes I worked on this for about a month straight at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. But I put together the link is budgetwithdan.com. So if you go to budgetwithdan.com, you can see what I'm talking about, but I'm going to share this with you. Basically, it's my 6 steps. I send this out to every single first-time home buyer. But then I started thinking others deserve the opportunity to look at this information too. So now I send this wealth awareness test out to every single one of my clients, specifically first-time home buyers. And the idea around this is just to take the conversation outside of the mortgage application process to gather a little bit more information. Now, this is after this is part of the mortgage planning meeting. So after they've been pre-approved or going through the pre-approval process, we just have a simple conversation around the results of this form. And what I'm finding out with this form is that people are unaware of their options. Everyone wants to have wealth. Everyone wants to retire well off, but they're unaware of their options on how to create wealth. Number 2, they don't have a game plan. So it starts with this wealth awareness test. And I tell people this, I tell all my clients this, I take this annually. I take this twice annually, actually. And my goal is every 6 months, I'm trying to convert, if I can, a no to a yes. And that should be their goal, whether they're 25 years old buying their first house or they're 45 years old and they're refinancing their house. So this is just all the title of it, financial awareness. All this is to create awareness. And then down at the bottom, I talk to them about, okay, so we took the test. Where are you now? Are you on track? And this right here is the close. This opens up their eyes to, gosh, I'm not on track. What do I do next? And so this gives me an opportunity now to have a conversation with them about a financial planning relationship. But what we've done now is we've taken the focus off of rate. We've taken the focus off of the mortgage process, which we're going to do well, and they're going to have a great experience because we've teed them up for that. But now we get to talk about really what I'm passionate about is having a conversation with them 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now and seeing that they're in a better place. And so after we get through the budgeting part of everything, and I show them we've arrived at kind of where their sweet spot is in the marketplace. So with this particular client, this is the second TCA, total cost analysis, that I've done for them. The first one had a series of values because they told me that, hey, our monthly payment needs to be or wants to be under $3,500 a month, ideally under $4,000. So we accomplished that here. They have about 5% for a down payment. So once we kind of have an idea that the sweet spot for their budget is going to be right around $650. This is the report that we go over in the mortgage planning meeting. This is what we have a conversation around. So option 1 is $650,000, 5% down. This is what most banks and credit unions and mortgage brokers would give their client. What I've done here is option 2 is if we prepaid your mortgage by an extra $500 a month because their budget was up to $4,000. So if we prepaid your mortgage every single month by $500 a month, how would that look? So we have a discussion around that. You'd have your mortgage paid off in 7 years earlier. Okay, cool. The third option is, what if you sat down with your financial planner and you gave your financial planner $500 a month for the next 15 years? And by the way, I see that you have about $25,000 in savings right now. So you're going to give that to your financial planner and you're going to start adding on to that. How does that look? So then we go over here and we scroll down to the 15-year net worth analysis. And basically I show them that in 15 years, you're going to have an increased net worth of over $300,000 if you choose option 3. If you choose option 2, that's great. You'll have your mortgage paid off in 7 years early. And now we get to have a conversation around, okay, what kind of, and this is really great. This is how I kind of close this conversation. As home buyers, what kind of people are you? Are you disciplined enough to give your financial planner $500 a month? Or are you going to spend that money? And if so, you're disciplined enough, great, do that. If you're not, I have a solution for you. Prepay your mortgage and you'll be debt-free 7 years sooner. So this is kind of how I'm using Mortgage Coach with the information that I'm gathering right now from my clients. And the feedback has been absolutely phenomenal.
Boom. So Dan, I mean, that was awesome. I mean, that was a great total cost analysis. I love how you framed it. Notice he talked about the questions that he's asking, because if you don't get the right questions answered, if you don't frame yourself as more than a loan officer by the time they get to the TCA, either one, they're confused and they're like, well, what's all this? Or two, it's not as personally powerful to them. So I do believe that questionnaire is in Mortgage Coach files. So in the Facebook group that you're in, there is a little section called files and you can get a download of it there. And then Dan also was super cool and you got to see how he rolls. Like, this is how a guy who does over 400 loans a year, or at least he did 400 loans last year and usually does over 200 loans. This is how he delivers a consumer experience. And this is how he delivers advice. And so I thought that was awesome. Sosi, you were so awesome. No pressure, but any call outs or any questions for Dan?
Yeah, you know, I wrote Dan privately or on a chat. He didn't respond to me. But I will say, I said, I've been a fanboy of you for such a long time now. Because what he does is he's embodying everything that I know all of us here are aiming to do, right? Anybody in the Mortgage Coach community, we are redefining the term for a loan officer. And we're bringing the aspect that we do real estate and we do help with debt, but we focus on personal finance for future wealth impact. And so being able to see these little tools that you're adding is really neat to see what you fill your belt with so that you can pivot. So yeah, I love that. The budget with Dan, I saw that a while back when you put it out and I clicked on it. I downloaded it hoping that it wouldn't go away. Just in case it did, I saved it to my desktop. I mean, there is so many neat things that you're doing there in the mind of the consumer, because now you truly are going into a category that's not defined.
Yep.
Right. And it's definitely amazing. I love that.
Thank you, Sosi. And Kathryn, know that you're going to leave soon, but any comments or any questions for Dan?
What I loved about that is you give them choices. So you say, hey, I'm not telling you you have to pay down your mortgage. Here's another good option as far as let's talk to your investment advisor. And that's what I really love about what you put together. I made some good notes and I'm excited to implement some of that. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
And that was a really good reminder. So for those of you that are not black belts, loan officers, they learn about the magic tricks of Mortgage Coach, options, and then they start selling strategies like, oh, here's what you should do and pay down the mortgage, or here's what you should do and invest the difference. The goal is to expand the client's mind, to ask them those questions, and then to find out what they want. So really, really good point there. We had Tina join us. So we have both Brian and Tina. Tina is typically leading our Thursday training. So every Thursday at 9 o'clock, she's usually the one leading it. Brian's leading the black belt training on Wednesdays. Tina, anything you want to call out there or any questions you have?
No, when I need a loan, I'm going to go to Dan because Dan is totally up my alley. It's exactly the way that I liked when I was originating my mindset, because it's about building wealth. It's not necessarily about paying off that house, how to leverage that extra capital that you do have in that workability area.
Brian, any speed tips or anything you want to call out that people should just be cognizant of?
Well, I mean, What Dan did there is he created a process in place, because you probably ask questions during your interview, but do you actually have a process in place? So with that questionnaire that he created, now he has a process and he can get a real good idea exactly where that person's head is in place. He's creating a ton of value for himself. He's going above and beyond being, a mortgage professional. He's taken on a completely different level there. And using the mortgage coach total cost analysis, he's not only telling the story, but he's also be able to provide that visual by using those different graph areas there. So that's huge. And then always providing options. I mean, he's pointing out the different options and letting the consumer take the ownership in making the choice that they think is best. So, I mean, great job. I kind of geeked out on that one, you could tell.
Yeah. And remember, guys, every Wednesday, 11 o'clock, when we start that coaching session, we start with a poll, like, where are you at? What belts are you at? So if it's all, newbies, we're going to do newbie training. If we see like a brown belt and a black belt, we're going to do a little bit of advanced training. And we also ask you, what strategies do you want to learn today? So it's 1 hour group coaching, 11 o'clock with Brian. And then you can talk about anything, any question that you have, any technology training, Tina, every Thursday. Todd, any coaching tips before we bring Sosi on stage and put him on the hot box?
Well, I mean, I just say kudos to you, Dan. I mean, I love your enthusiasm, because you're not just helping someone with a loan, you're actually changing their financial future. I mean, we all know that there's so much strife in people's lives from financial challenges. We know it's the number one reason for divorce. And so the fact that Dan has taken the time to educate, and kind of Sosi talked about it before when he was talking about Kathryn. I mean, we know your enthusiasm for it. Like, you're so passionate about it that you actually took the time to build something. So I just think that coaching on it is really, where is your passion as you're watching these different originators do their TCAs? Where can you bring your passion to your clients? Where can you bring your passion to the process? Because in the end, that's how you win a loan. You don't win a loan on rate. We know that. We know you don't win it with a fee worksheet. You've got a TCA, but if you can elevate it with this passion that you're seeing from these grandmasters here, then I think you're really going to win. So I just love it, Dan. You just always blow me away.
And also just remember, guys, everybody is different. Like, Dan has that process. He takes to that page. He goes deeper into fiscal literacy. If we were interviewing Jeremy Forcier and he was on stage right now, he's not doing that, but he's still asking great questions, giving great advice. So it's just an idea. This is what one grandmaster does. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but they all end up at the same place. And that is vision casting for the family on how to build wealth with a better mortgage decision, with real estate, and with options. Like, how they get to the options is different, but they're all ending up with the same destination, beyond the transaction value. Sosi, jump on stage. For anyone that's new to the business, has never heard me interview you, just tell a little bit about your practice.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dave. Gosh, I'm so excited to be on the stage with everyone. A little bit about me. This is my 5th year originating. Before this, I was in a pastoral role, did a lot of international travel, but never once ever knew about debt. And so this has been a great journey to learn how to help people from a holistic perspective, and also do it with a heart and conviction to make sure that they're going to be in a better place once they are finished with the transaction than when they first started. And so to kind of dive in,
real quick, how many loans did you close last year, and what was your volume?
I was at about 77 million at 151 families being served through that.
Love it. And guys, I've interviewed Sosi before. He's such an amazing story. Check out previous interviews I've done. So tell us about the strategy and the story that you want to share.
Yeah, this is all really birthed from that fact of what you've tried to continue to install into the community. What can't Amazon do? What can't Google do? And I'm sure as all of us, we've seen the clientele evolved from 4 years ago when you were first chanting that. I know all of us have come to a place where we see people coming with so much more research already completed. They've already gone through the articles. They've already tried to find YouTube channels of people who think they know what they're talking about. I mean, it has been amazing to see what type of interaction we're now having with clients now compared to even 4 years ago when I first started. And so being able to create some of this, right, I'm going to pivot a little bit. I'm going to show you a TCA that I do both for the realtor and also that I do for the client. One of the things that really got me excited during the Super Bowl was actually all the mortgage commercials. right? You started seeing all these mortgage commercials trying to promote, click, get a mortgage, all that stuff. But then in addition, that got coupled with that TurboTax commercial where like the advisor on his floating desk going all around. And I was loving it because I was seeing two worlds start colliding that really I felt start marketing who I am. I love being that advisor from a virtual world that gets to interact with the client and be able to help them get the advice they know they need to have in a step that they're not fully aware of how to do best. And so with that said, here's kind of one of the presentations to share today. Let me see, should be popped up there. Taking this away from the reminders that Scott Nicholson gave us at the last interview, I created it, right? So this is something I've actually presented to our realtors at the presentations I do. At this point right now, there's pretty much one realtor presentation that I'm doing for an hour on strategies, business partnership, and growing their team to the next level, pretty much for a different partner at least once a week right now. And these are all with really great partners who produce at a high level and really help families in an amazing way. And so one of the presentations that I took away from Scott Nicholson as we're kind of brainstorming here, right, was, okay, pre-COVID, mid-COVID, and post-COVID, what does that world look like? So for an individual who was looking at purchasing, I got to change that right there, but $600,000 purchase before COVID, a few years back when rates were at 4 1/8, 3134. Right today, $700,000 purchase with where rates were at during COVID, we're at not 3567, right? When you go to the more info, you'll see 3160. I'll show why that monthly payment is being changed here in a moment. The presentation was already done, so it's lost a little bit about how I built it out, but I'm just showing you guys the end results. And so 3134 compared to 3160, and that's a $100,000 increase in purchase price. When people see that, they start realizing, oh my gosh, even though prices have increased so high, they are still at an affordable position. In comparison to that, we now start thinking about what's going to happen in the future. And I saw that last night in the mortgage community, right? The question was posed going, how do we motivate people who are on the fence? And yeah, the knee-jerk reaction is to kind of justify yourself and go, I told you so, right? Like, now listen to me. But most of us, if we have an aspect of humanity in us, we all know that you don't have to teach your 4-year-old to say no. And so we understand that internally, when we get told we were wrong and we're being shown that, that's not going to motivate the majority of us at all. It's just going to make us even more upset. And so sometimes what you want to do is you want to be able to lead from helping them remember perspective. Yes, rates just went up. Yes, you just missed out. But let's look at what will happen if you keep being on that fence. If we stay on that fence and let's say rates go up to 3.5 and the house value goes up less than 3.69% in 1 year, right? We can assume last 80-year projection of appreciations. This is a very safe number. Your monthly payment now just went from 3160 to 3567. What about the naysayers who talk about the values are about to come down? Okay, let's talk through that more. And let's say it comes down 20 grand, right? So between now, it goes up. And then from there, let's say it peaks at like 725, 730, and then it just comes down. So if it goes from 730 to 680, that's $50,000 of price decrease. Rates still at 3.5, what projections are at the end of the year, your monthly payment is now $33.45. Either way, compared to you buying right in the middle of COVID and everything, you're still going higher. Now, the other aspect to kind of throw in here, what I was trying to share with people was if you would take the monthly payment difference between here and the 725, you would see a $406 difference, which would actually help you pay off the loan, not in 30 years, but in 23.92. The last little piece to this presentation, and again, this has to get customized to the client. What I've seen it be really effective is helping realtors get motivated as they feel discouraged, helping realtors get motivated as they're also building their team. And then in addition, having a quick reference at a party where you can just show people, hey, here's kind of some of the stuff we're talking about if the conversation so allows. The neat thing that Scott Nicholson brought up was reminding people of what the salary requirements are to qualify at this point, right? And so before COVID, you had to make 76. During COVID, 77. After COVID, with prices going up, if it goes up to 725 at a very conservative estimate, you got to make 86. If you have a 5% increase in your income this year from 77 to 80, you're no longer qualified. You don't barely qualify here, and that's assuming no debt at all. And so what I wanted to kind of show in this presentation is the fact that what I've really tried to grow is ability to bring conversation, talking points into the discussion, right? Into the sales discussion, helping someone get the data that they're desperately looking for, that they're searching Google on, that they're searching all online resources on, and helping that all come together into a clear picture. So now they can see that we are the source of data, we are the resource for personal finance, and now they can lean on us and trust in us and being the means to get them into the home they want to get into, and in the right way.
Boom. You've got my business. So see, if you could stop sharing real quick.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure you guys notice he talked about, this is a strategy that he's got on his mobile phone, so that if he's having a conversation with an agent or whoever, he can just pull that up and tell the story, and then Mortgage Coach is the prompt. I'm also seeing a lot of loan officers creating video content where they're talking, they're explaining, and then they're putting the Mortgage Coach TCA in that. There was recently Jay Telesano, I put it in the Facebook group, did an American Dream show. He met with a real estate agent. He then went into a house with an agent. Then they sat down at a table and he talked about a rent versus own, and that was a prop in the story. So this is one of those TCAs that would make great story selling. It'd make a great social post, a great realtor meeting, and just something you want to have. Dan Keller, anything you want to ask or add to that?
Love it. I think in sales, perspective is power, right? And what you've done is you've just created perspective. And you've taken the focus off of, wait, what is that interest rate on there? Well, hey, the local credit union is a little bit different. Now you've put the focus on strategy, perspective, looking back, looking forward, and then you have the opportunity to leverage all the other benefits of Mortgage Coach, like Dan Rawich with Rate Watch, market commentary that we are privileged to have as professionals, and you can establish yourself as a pro. So right on, man. That was incredible. I absolutely love it. I teach the same slide at homebuyer classes just to bring that perspective. So great job.
And guys, did you hear that? Dan has a similar TCA that is part of a lesson at all of his homebuyer classes, which it's another interview. I've interviewed him before on that. If you are doing, whether it's virtual, probably not in person right now, home buying classes, that would be something you'd want to have in it. Greg, anything you want to call out or ask?
Yeah, no, I think that was great. And like Dan, I have a similar slide that I use as well a lot of times, because when rates are moving around, you need to set that perspective, right? And you need to let people know. And sometimes you need agents. I've been having conversations with agents this week, and they're a little concerned because rates are going up. They don't really understand what that means to them, right? They don't understand what that means to their buyer. But if you can go in and show them that, hey, it's okay, right? Where people are still going to be okay. You show them in that graphical format. I think it really alleviates a lot of stress for our clients and our referral partners.
No doubt. Tina, anything you want to call out or ask?
There's a couple of things. First of all, when Dave asked Sosi how many loans he closed, Sosi quickly came in and said, I helped this many families. Number one thing that I see with that transaction from being a loan officer to actually really stepping in and guiding these families is just that verbiage, to change it from being I'm processing loans or closing loans to I'm helping families. So number one thing that at the beginning, I'm like, I hear this from Kathryn. Kathryn says it all the time. Dan says it. I haven't worked with Greg, so I don't know if Greg does, but I'm assuming Greg probably says it too, because that's just a top-notch black belt thing to do. Also, we are in a market where you're going to have to start shifting from focusing on the consumer to focusing on the realtors, because it is going to move. And this is a great spot for him to not only be able to come in and stand in front of those realtors to be able to educate them, because these realtors, let's be real, a lot of them don't understand the impacts. They don't understand the impacts of dropping the price versus buying down the rate. And as a loan officer, if you have those goods to be able to go in and explain it in a way they're going to understand, you're going to be grabbing realtors that, you know, you thought were locked in with someone else and that you thought were unachievable simply because you're giving them value that they're not seeing in the market.
Love it. So guys, I want to make sure we get Greg on quickly, but Brian, were there any tech things that you wanted to call out from a mortgage coach training perspective? But if you do have some, make it quick.
Yeah, I'll just real quickly add that, you know, buying a home is a very emotional experience. And what Sosi does in that presentation is he helps eliminate a little bit of that emotion by putting it in numerical. They're able to see exactly what the numbers are going to look like and take an emotional decision and make a more educated based upon the numbers. So good job, Sosi.
Love it. And then Todd, any coaching tips before we bring Greg on stage?
Oh, you know what? I could talk all day about Sosi and how he approaches it. But my favorite thing is that most of you, when you saw all those Super Bowl commercials, all you did was either cry thinking that they're going to take your business, or you posted that if your lender had a Super Bowl commercial, you're paying too much. Sosi rocked it because he actually looked for the opportunity in it. He actually looked for the silver lining. So that's my coaching to all of you.
All right, guys. And I'm going to get Dan Keller's TCA. I forgot to ask him for it. Stay tuned, guys. I will get it shared. If you're watching the recording, it'll be down below. Sosi, if you could take a link to your total cost analysis, share it in chat right now. And all the links to all the lessons today will be in there. So Greg, let's bring you on stage. For anyone that hasn't heard your story, just in a minute or less, tell us what market you're in, a little bit about your production, and then we'll get to your stories.
Yeah, so I'm in the Seattle market and been in the business for 16 years. Like Dan, before this last year, I've always been around 200 to 250 families helped, and then in this particular year, 2020, I really didn't grow that much. I went up to 293 families helped, but there was a lot of other factors, and one of those was we kept our purchase percentage up really high. And so that was really important to us. And, you know, one other thing I would add to that is about 5 years ago, we started helping a homeless shelter. For every loan we close, we provide a night of shelter. And so when we say families helped, we really mean families helped. So every single family that we help get a mortgage, that's helping a family get a night of safety off the streets and that kind of thing. So really proud of that. And my team really jumped in this year and did a lot of things, moving companies and that. So really excited to be here.
All right. I love that. And Sosi, by the way, you shared the link. What's the headline to it? Like, what would be just put it in. If you could put, like, how would you frame this and put a title on it? So guys, Greg is the Grandmaster's Grandmaster. I mean, there's not a loan officer in this community that cannot learn something from this man. Every time I interview him, he's got really powerful total cost analysis that are like perfectly done. And they could go from really basic to like, literally, is this guy a financial planner? So Greg, what TCAs do you have for us today?
So I've got two to share. I'm going to start with this one here, because this is really important in our market here in Seattle. It seems like every home is going over the asking price right now. And so buyers, in order to compete, they're being asked to waive financing, but they're also being asked to make up a difference for a low appraisal. So I've got clients who are struggling. They're going up, they're putting 20% down. They're saying, Greg, all I've got is enough to put 20% down. And they don't have another $50,000 or $100,000 to make up if the appraisal comes in low. And so I was talking to some realtors, and I was realizing that they were really struggling with how to make up this difference. And so this is one of the things I love about Mortgage Coach and the TCA is I can take what's in my brain and I can put it in a format that people can understand. And so I've showed you one here. So in the first strategy, we have a purchase price of $800,000. Now this house was listed at $700,000. Okay. So they went up to $800,000 in this situation. And I told them, hey, Brendan and Tom are their names. If the appraisal comes in, you're fine. You've got the money. They have about $175,000. So we wanted to stay below that. You've got the money for the down payment and the closing costs. And so we're all good. Now, we have to be prepared because you're going to need to make up the difference if we have a low appraisal. That's the only way you're going to get your offer accepted. So I showed them two options here. One was if the appraisal comes in 50,000 low. And what I did was I took the, and I click on more info here and go over to the closing costs, and you'll see that we have an upfront mortgage insurance premium. So what I did was they were really interested in keeping their payment low, keeping it the same, and keeping that cash to close the same. So I've factored in here, and I just put it into the closing cost, an amount to the seller for the low appraisal. Okay, so we got 50,000 in this case, 50,000 to the seller in case of a low appraisal. We bought out of the mortgage insurance by doing a single premium. So we're keeping their payment really, really low. It's within $20. Okay, so that takes away that fear of, oh my gosh, I've got to come in with $50,000. I don't have it. To, hey, we have a solution, right? Your cash to close is going to be the same. Your payment's really going to be the same. Your loan amount, as you'll notice, is a little higher because you rolled in that premium, but the goal at the end of the day was met, cash and payment, okay? Then I showed them the same thing if the appraisal came in $100,000 low, right? So it's not necessarily the strategy, there are these strategies that I'm showing, it's the concept of how do we help people get into homes in a crazy market where there's 15, 20 offers on every home.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I had a prep call with Amber Kovark, who's going to be creating a video for the community soon. And in her market, the appraisals not coming in is an issue. And she's going to show how she's taking people that were going to put 10%, saying, hey, you could put 5% and do single premium MI. So I think this is going to be at least in the market, in a lot of markets, a really powerful strategy. Sosi, any comments or questions?
I love it. I think the single premium is such a ninja move. It blew me away when I first came into the industry how Mortgage Coach actually showed me single premium existed, and Josh Meadows showed the split way back in the day. And I got introduced to it because I was just going through Mortgage Coach and I was like, what the hell what's that button do? Right? Like, man, I don't know what that is. And so I researched it and found it. And so it's been amazing to me how so many people still don't know what in the world that is and how to operate with it. And so, yeah, that is great, Greg. So just out of curiosity, do you do this for every client before they place the offer so they're aware of it? Or do you have a standard, hey, this is what it usually looks like, so don't worry about placing the offer, go ahead and place it because there's going to be some solutions?
Well, every client is different, right? So if I've got somebody who is not willing to go in with extra for a low appraisal, I'm not going to cover this. But it is definitely something I'm doing with probably 50% of buyers right now because, it's a really competitive market up here.
Well, it's so powerful, guys. And I am looking for more strategies like this. Sosi, when we do another Grandmaster training, I'm for sure going to invite you to the other one because not only was it your idea that I'm doing this, but you're doing a great job of adding color and pulling out the gold. So I am personally going to have to leave right at the top of the hour. Todd, if you could plan, because I have a feeling it's going to go just a couple of minutes over, if you could close it out. But Todd, anything you want to add at this point? Any questions or takeaways?
Well, no, I think the big takeaways were, Sosi nailed it. And I think it's just really a matter of what Greg's doing is helping his clients and his realtors by prepping them for possible scenarios and taking away that fear. And so I think it's huge.
Tina, in a minute or less, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I just want to bring it back to the fact that every client is either payment driven or cash to close driven. And no matter how deep of a transaction you're going to or how strategic, even as a new loan officer, just remember that because that's going to be able to help drive your TCA.
Right.
Brian, a minute or less, any questions or comments?
I was kind of laughing to myself when you were going through that, Greg, because I went to the mailbox last night, got a flyer, and the realtor was bragging about $25,000 over list price, $75,000 over list price, closed in 5 days. I mean, here you have a solution for somebody that, as home prices rise, you've got it covered. So they know that they can do a transaction with you. You've got them covered. Great job.
Greg, after you get done talking, if you could remember with a headline to share your links in chat. Everybody wants them. And if you're watching the recording, in YouTube, links down below. And remember, guys, every Wednesday, 11 o'clock, we're doing black belt training. Every Thursday, 9 o'clock, we will just doing Q&A. Any group questions you have, we've got it. So Greg, what's the next one?
Yeah, so the other one is just a refinance that I've got some clients that they were first-time buyers back in February of last year, and so here we are, getting them a better rate now. And one of the things that I wanted to point out here is, it's been shared a lot, but I think it's really, really important. It goes to Dan's point of, hey, we need to be more of a financial advisor to our clients and give them the options. One of the things you'll note is I didn't close them out, but I do a video for every single TCA that I do. I get a lot of positive comments about that. I take the time to do it. Every client gets one. So I just think it's really, really important. The other thing I would add is, all of these TCAs that you're seeing provided by all the presentations this morning, this is something you cannot do with a fee worksheet. You cannot have 4 fee worksheets laying out on a table and express the options to the client this way. So this one we've got somebody again who just bought their home last year. And so you'll see their freedom point down below here is 29, a little over 29 years. So I wanted to show them something with no points and then with points. So we did that. And then always show them what happens if you keep making the same payment as you're making today. So I took this strategy too, showed it over here, added the reinvestment, and you'll see it took it down to 26, a little over 26 years, so 3 years off the mortgage. And then we talk about how powerful it is to pay off your mortgage 3 years early, right? And so I just think that's super, super important. There are people who need cash out to pay off debts. They need cash flow. And that brings up the conversation for sure when you start talking about, hey, what are you going to do with this extra money? I was in the business back in 2005, 6, 7, and I remember what people were doing with their extra money. And it was not the right thing to do, right? Going to Vegas, whatever. So I'm very in tune with my clients, and I want to make sure that they're doing something smart with that money, whether that's reinvesting it, now putting money in their 401k, they're putting it back in the house, whatever they're doing.
Greg, I want to add a couple thoughts. If you could stop sharing your screen real quick. So something that every black belt loan officer does, and first of all, it's these 3 things. So if you're new, take a picture of this, but there's always options. That's what black belt advisors do. If you're not giving options to a family, you're not an advisor. You're a transaction coordinator. Showing the cost over time. If you're not showing a couple different periods of time, 3 years, 5 years, that's not advice. You've got to do that to be advice. And then of course, strategies. And that's where, Greg, you saw the strategy where he was helping the client pay off the house 3 years faster. And by the way, that's what you want to put in your marketing. That's what you want to focus on when you're talking to the client, is that value. For those of you that end up watching the interview I did with, I mentioned earlier, the American Dream TV video by Jay Tisano, which every mortgage coach needs to listen to. It was awesome. Like, great lifestyle, great realtor collaboration, great job at pulling up a rent versus own, but he didn't nail, like, what does that mean to your net worth over 10 years, owning versus renting? So in this particular case, it was about 3 years. So always, I want every loan officer who's a mortgage coach, what's the monthly payment and interest rate? But what's that one number beyond the transaction? 3 years, 10 years. That's where the gold is. Todd, if you can make sure everybody gets a chance to ask a question, give a comment. Greg, if you can make sure you share those links so we have them. If someone could forward them to me, but I've got to jump into another call. And Todd, I'll let you wrap it up with everybody.
Awesome. All right. So, hey, Tina, what anything you would add to Greg's last presentation there?
The only thing I would mention is when you're doing that refinancing with the same payment, is we do have a little button that is often missed on that analysis page, that it says exclude reinvestment from transaction. If you click that button, it will bring the balances back up into that window. So
Okay.
you'll still see the balances. You had it done, Greg. Yours wasn't a problem, but a lot of loan officers miss that. So they show 0, 0, 0 across the board. So if you're seeing 0, 0, look for that exclude button. That's it.
Nice.
All right, how about you, Brian? Any other ninja tips you would have for the crew?
I'd just like to point out, Greg, you named each of your products strategy 1, 2, and 3. Can you just give a little bit more color on why you do that?
Yeah, these are just little things I've thought about over the time. Like I used to say option 1. I don't like the word option. I like the word strategy because it just is a better sounding word for your client, right? They know you are their strategist when you use that. So that's why I do that for every single one, unless I need to put more clarity into the description.
Perfect. Good tip for everybody.
Hey, that's awesome. All right, Sosi, I'm gonna let you close out with the final comments or questions for the crew. Anything you want to address before we head off and get some work done?
Yeah, no, the only thing I would say is, let today be, Dan Rawich always leaves us for a thought for the day. I hope everyone saw that at this stage, people always have tools they can pivot to quickly. I remember I read this article on Forbes about the most successful entrepreneurs, and the greatest attribute they need is not work ethic necessarily. It's not even talent. It's just the ability to pivot. And so if we have our tool belt filled with everything we need to build that success, no matter what comes our way today, we'll be able to make sure to get on the other side as winners. So excited to see everyone win today.
Oh, that was so good. I don't even know how I can close out after that, other than to say thanks to Dave, Dan, and Kathryn, who all had to jump off. It was a pleasure to have Brian and Tina from the Mortgage Coach crew. And you know that Mortgage Coach runs training every single day, and these are your trainers. So they came here to add extra value. I'm grateful for that. And just know that there's so many resources that Mortgage Coach provides to make sure that you can be the best loan officer and win more transactions and help more families. And then, of course, Greg and Sosi, thanks for staying on to the end of the call. It was great. We're getting great comments, and appreciate you guys sharing with the community as always. So on behalf of Dave and the entire Mortgage Coach team and myself and the Win by Noon team, we'll see y'all next Friday.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.